Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains Podcast. I am Kevin Joyce, CEO of Tiny Brains, and I have with me here Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Kev.
Hey. So we're going to dive straight in. What we do every week, for those who haven't seen this before, is we take the top 4 or 5 stories from the previous week in XR and discuss what we think about them. Obviously, Pete and I, between us, are pushing 20 years of experience in the space, and we've tried everything. Everything. But one thing we haven't tried is Disney's new Holo tile. So give us the rundown, Pete.
Well, I think this has done quite a bit of the rounds on the news feeds this past week, as Disney showcased a prototype, essentially, rather than omnidirectional treadmills that consumers have seen in the past. This is a moving floor as such, where you can walk, you can maneuver about, almost as if you're naturally walking in VR while staying on the spot. Now, the idea is nothing new, but the implementation isn't it, Kev?
Yeah. So I think this is very impressive. I think it looks great. The one problem I have with it is how big is that base to have all the actuators underneath? This is far, far, in my opinion, far from being a consumer-ready product.
Oh, definitely, it's certainly a prototype by a long shot, and whether it actually gets any further than their labs is another question, because Disney design all these things. They've got a great engineering team, but sometimes a lot of these prototypes you know, don't get much further.
Yeah, and with VR going in the direction it is these days, which is basically anything they can possibly do to avoid having additional accessories outside the headset. I'm not sure that the time of treadmills is ever going to come around.
No, if we do see it at all, it is going to be in a Disney theme park more than anything else. And the one interesting piece of information was the fact that it's multi-user. Disney says that multiple people can stand on the same platform and use it, which then opens up the possibilities for greater sort of location-based entertainment, doesn't it?
Indeed, yeah. I mean, if they can expand this thing to be the size of a decent sized room and have 4 people walking around at once, great. But yeah, that remains to be seen. I did try the Aladdin experience back in the early days of VR Focus, the publication that Pete and I used to work on over in Florida, and it was great as far as early 90s VR goes that still exists today,
Yeah,
but it's gone now.
it's gone, long
Pour
gone.
one out for Disney Quest. Anyway, moving on, we have the Apple Vision Pro. Now this is coming to retail. Well, not coming to retail, but pre-orders are going to be fulfilled very soon. Except that's your cue,
Ex-
Pete.
Except that if you haven't got a pre-order in, you might have to wait a little bit longer. So at the moment, yeah, pre-orders opened on January the 19th. So pre-orders will be fulfilled on the 2nd of February. And at the moment, if you're looking for a home delivery, you're not going to get it anytime soon, because they have been pushed back until March. Well, this is all US deliveries, but at the moment, the Apple Store is showing that if you want to order online, you're going to have to wait till March.
But is this purely because they sold out of their pre-order allocation on day one, and now this is like the second wave?
I think this is probably the second wave. There is a slight caveat to that information, in the fact that if you're ordering for store collection or ordering in store, you don't have to wait as long. There are still, on the Apple site, you can still find stores that will say, yeah, you can pick it up on a few days after launch. So you pick on the 4th or the 5th or the 6th, something like that. Not all stores. There are some stores in like San Jose and New York where there's no allocations left. But some stores around the US still have models available.
And on that availability, there's also some word on Apple trying to cull scalpers, I believe.
Well, it's more the fact that you're getting a lot of these pre-order listings appearing on eBay. So there's a lot of scalpers going on doing the pre-orders, then going onto eBay and saying we're going to ship it out to whoever wants to buy it off eBay on the day that they receive it. The slight thing is that as scalpers like to do, they like to, put a little bit of a markup on there. So most are selling for £6,000. Some have even sold, although debatable whether those are real sales or not. But yes, they have listed them for £6,000. So if you want to pay double the asking price, you can do.
Nice work if you can get it right, and you're an ass.
Exactly. I suppose it's, if you're outside of the US and you want to get hold of one, that's possibly one way of doing it.
Or, you could spend that extra money, pay for a flight, and go to America.
I think that would be well worth it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. We have more hardware. The Axis Lite. What's this about?
This is about tracking your movements in VR. So, kind of like the HTC Vive Elite Tracker. This is another company, Refract Technologies, who they've made the Axis system for a while now. They've made the Axis Standard, which is a 9-node tracking system for your entire body, knees, elbows, waist, all that sort of jazz. And the Standard sells for $750. The Lite is now more consumer focused. So it's only 4 nodes, and they're four little trackers that go on your knees. So one below your knee and one above your knee. So you just get 4, and that'll track your legs. So it's lower body tracking, and they're going to sell them for $350. Or
And this is
or
oh,
if you get in early, you can get it for as cheap as $248.
that doesn't sound too bad, and it's obviously Quest compatible,
Yeah.
both Quest 2 and Quest 3 and Quest Pro for that matter.
Yes, Quest compatible. They've listed several titles on their site, including Zenith, The Last City. You got VR Chat in there and a few others, Blade and Sorcery as well. So if you want lower body tracking,
It sounds very good and a reasonable price point, but it also sounds to me like something that they have to convince the development community to support. And there's many VR accessories out there that are supported by X amount of games, but you're always going to find some that just don't support the device. So I don't think there's going to be a huge market for this. It'll be the VR core, the the people like myself and yourself, Pete, that have had every headset since the DK1. But I don't think that this is going to have a mass market appeal. But maybe it doesn't need one.
maybe it doesn't. It's one of those things. There have been trackers going on for years, and none of them have had a great deal of influence on the gaming space, have they? But the core fan base has still utilized them in some respect.
And continuing the hardware theme, we have C Infinity. Now this is the letter C Infinity, which has a Kickstarter campaign, which by all accounts is going quite successfully.
So rather than the Axis Lite, which is quite a simple little device, C Infinity is a much larger all-body controller. Now this isn't an omnidirectional treadmill. There's no foot control in this. This is all upper body this time. So you stand on a platform, and there's 2 armrests and a backrest, which you sort of you lean and get comfy on, and then all the control systems are in the 2 sort of hand modules as such. The modules are quite extensive in terms of they've both got 12 buttons each, so that's 24 buttons to get used to with a headset on as well. But it looks like a novel system. It's designed to reduce motion sickness. That's the main aim of it. And they started a Kickstarter last week, aiming to raise $10,000, and so currently they're at $13,000.
So congratulations for passing that Kickstarter goal. However, I'm not sure how far they'll get with a device like this for $10,000. It does seem like they're lowballing a bit in my mind.
It seems like the Kickstarter is more of a marketing thing rather than they're looking to fund
For how
the
much interest they've got.
actual project itself, because it launches, well, shipments start in May, so they're pretty much almost to the end of development anyway. So it seems like the Kickstarter is more of a, hey, look at us, do you want to get an early deal? And I say early deal, it's still $1,000 on their super early, like, price point. So you still have to spend $999 on getting this interesting little accessory. Well,
So
little.
the trend for 2024, it seems, is to have new arm controllers, a treadmill, and knee trackers, and look like a robot playing your VR experiences.
Yeah. Beep boop beep boop.
Fantastic sound effects there. I hope we record that.
Thank you.
And lastly, wrapping up, we've got a little bit of game news, as we always do. Dungeons and Dragons. Now, our lovely old friends at Resolution Games have scored the license and revealed they're making a VR game in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. Probably hot off the success of Baldur's Gate 3, I would imagine, was a good time to announce this. But they haven't said what it is. So, Pete.
Well, it's certainly exciting, isn't it? Resolution Games making a D&D game. They're really good at their multiplayer games. They've done Demio Battles is the sort of more recent one. Games like Angry Birds VR. They've done a ridiculous amount of games over the past 8 years or so, that have been 8 to 10 years that they've been running. So there's not a lot of information about the D&D game that they're planning to make. So they've announced it alongside Wizards of the Coast, but we don't know. There's no screenshots yet. There's been no key art. So there's been a one key art image, hasn't there? So no, not even key art image. No. Okay. So yes, we've got an announcement that it's D&D. Yay! So
It's not even been a logo, which presumably they would use the traditional red Dungeons and Dragons logo, but you never know. Maybe they will change that. So we'll see. Expectation is that it's arriving this year at some point, but I'm not sure how close that is to reality. But Resolution Games are, they are a powerful studio in VR these days, and they do like to pump out their content. So, and most of it is quite high quality as well. They are a reliable studio for this content that they regularly put out in the marketplace. So yeah, I would love to see it on Quest 3 before the end of the year. But we don't even know if it's going to be Quest 3. It could be location based. Don't know anything about it. So if you do, let us know.
that'd be great.
So that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you very much for everybody watching this. If you want to reach out, the details will be scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. And yeah, we'd love to chat to you about anything XR. Thanks very much.
Cheers.